The disappearance of the Emerald Queen. The biting December wind whipped at Eleanor Vance's face as she hurried through the opulent lobby of the Grand Imperial Hotel. The air hung heavy with the scent of lily and polished mahogany, a stark contrast to the icy chaos outside. Her trench coat flapped around her ankles, a stark contrast to the designer gowns sweeping past her. Eleanor, a private investigator with a nose for trouble and a pocket full of cynicism, was there for one reason. Lady Lavinia Davenport, the renowned socialite and philanthropist, had vanished. Not just from a high society soiree, but from her locked penthouse suite on the very top floor of this very hotel. And Eleanor was the only one who seemed to find it suspicious. The police, led by the gruff Inspector Davies, seemed content to chalk it up to an eccentric disappearing act befitting Lady Lavinia's flamboyant personality. But something about it didn't sit right with Eleanor. The meticulously locked suite, the untouched belongings, the frantic call from Lady Lavinia's niece, Amelia, it all pointed towards foul play. Eleanor, ever the pragmatist, began with the obvious, Amelia Davenport. The young woman, barely out of her teens, was a whirlwind of whirring and chiffon. She poured out a tale of a cryptic phone call from her aunt the night before, a call filled with hushed tones and veiled threats. The last words Amelia could recall were, "They'll never find me." The call logs proved useless, routed through a burner phone, a detail Amelia knew nothing about. Eleanor, intrigued by the phone, took it with her, promising Amelia answers she herself wasn't sure she could deliver. Next, she interviewed the hotel staff, tight-lipped and suspicious. They painted a picture of an eccentric recluse. Apparently, Lady Lavinia spent most of her time cloistered in her opulent suite, only stepping out for lavish soirees or private meetings. One name kept cropping up, Alistair Crowley, a notorious art dealer with her. The rusted iron gates of the amusement park creaked open with a haunting groan, sending a shiver down Eleanor's spine. The once vibrant carousel stood frozen in time, its painted horses leering with an unsettling air. Max, armed with a flashlight and a healthy dose of skepticism, followed close behind. As they ventured deeper into the decaying park, the faint sounds of muffled voices reached them. It led them to the abandoned funhouse, its crooked grin a grotesque invitation. Inside, a dusty mirror maze distorted their reflections with each turn. Finally, they stumbled upon a makeshift room hidden behind a mirrored wall. There, in the dim light, they found a man tied to a rickety chair. It was Alistair Crowley, his eyes wide with terror. Before they could react, a figure emerged from the shadows, a woman, her face shrouded in darkness, a gun glinting in her hand. "Who are you?" Eleanor demanded, her hand instinctively moving to the pepper spray in her pocket. "You shouldn't be here," the woman whispered, her voice strangely familiar. Just as a flicker of recognition sparked in Eleanor's mind, a deafening gunshot echoed through the hall. Alistair slumped over, lifeless. The woman, momentarily stunned, dropped the gun and fled into the maze. Eleanor and Max, reeling from the shock, rushed to Alistair's side. He was dead, a single bullet wound marring his perfectly tailored suit. Panic mixed with a growing sense of bewilderment. Who was that woman? Was she the one who kidnapped Lady Lavinia? And how did Alistair end up here, a victim himself? Back at her office, the encrypted message revealed its secrets. It wasn't a threat, but a plea for help. It was from Lady Lavinia, sent from a location disguised as a cryptic riddle. The Emerald Queen watches over a sea of forgotten dreams. Episode 2, The Emerald Queen's Enigma. The harsh light of dawn filtered through Eleanor's blinds, chasing away the remnants of a restless night. The events of the previous evening replayed in her mind, the abandoned amusement park, the death of Alistair Crowley, and the cryptic message from Lady Lavinia. Beside her desk, Max sat hunched over his laptop, his brow furrowed in concentration. He was a man more comfortable in the digital world than the real one, but his loyalty to Eleanor was unwavering. "Anything?" Eleanor asked, her voice hoarse from lack of sleep. Max shook his head, his frustration evident. The message was definitely sent from somewhere within city limits. But the riddle, he trailed off, tapping his fingers on the keyboard. "The Emerald Queen," Eleanor muttered, recalling the phrase. What could it mean? Max pulled up an image on his laptop screen. It depicted a faded postcard of the city from decades ago, the centerpiece a majestic Art Deco building topped with a shimmering green dome. "The Emerald Empress," he said, pointing to the faded inscription. An abandoned theatre, a flicker of understanding dawned on Eleanor. That might be our sea of forgotten dreams. The Emerald Empress Theatre, once a glittering jewel in the city's crown, now stood as a decaying shell, its ornate facade covered in graffiti. Inside, the grand lobby was a desolate wasteland, dusty seats shrouded in cobwebs. Eleanor and Max explored the theatre, their footsteps echoing hollowly on the marble floor. The air hung heavy with the smell of neglect and decay. Following a hunch, they climbed a creaky staircase leading to the upper levels. Behind a locked door, they discovered a dusty office, untouched for years. A layer of grime covered a massive projector, its lens cloudy with age. But it was a large green jewel sitting on the desk that caught their eye. It pulsated with a faint green light, an uncanny echo of the theatre's name. "Max," his eyes gleaming with curiosity, "Exa." Eleanor pulled out a small magnifying glass she always carried, a remnant of her days as a history buff. As she examined the scarab, a light flashed in her mind. "Wait," she said, her voice filled with sudden excitement. "The scarab beetle, it's a symbol of rebirth in ancient Egypt." Max's eyes widened. Rebirth, like a hidden entrance, with renewed determination. They examined the area around the scarab. Their fingers brushed against a slight indentation in the wall. With a click and a groan, a hidden passageway opened. The passage was dark and narrow, the air thick with dust and the scent of mildew. They crept forward, their only source of light Max's small flashlight. The passage opened into a vast chamber unlike anything they had ever seen. Episode 3. The Serpent's shadow. Eleanor and Max emerged from the narrow passage into a vast chamber that stole their breath away. The cavernous space, illuminated by strategically placed torches, housed a collection of artifacts unlike anything they had ever seen. Golden statues depicting forgotten gods gleamed in the flickering light, while ancient murals adorned the walls, depicting scenes from a lost civilization. In the center of the chamber stood a colossal obsidian sarcophagus, its surface etched with cryptic symbols. Around it, scattered on ornately carved pedestals, were priceless relics, jeweled chalices, golden masks, and tablets inscribed in an unknown language. The air hung heavy with an unsettling silence, broken only by the ragged sound of their own breathing. All quickly gave way to a sense of unease. This hidden chamber felt like a tomb, a repository of forgotten secrets. Their attention was drawn to a figure standing near the sarcophagus. It was the woman from the funhouse, her face partially obscured by the shadows. She wore a long, dark cloak that seemed to blend into the darkness of the chamber. In her hand, she held the green jewel they had found in the abandoned theatre. "You shouldn't be here," the woman said, her voice a low whisper that echoed eerily in the vast chamber. There was a hint of familiarity in her tone, a flicker of recognition that sent a shiver down Eleanor's spine. Eleanor, ever the pragmatist, took a step forward. "Who are you, and what have you done with Lady Lavinia?" The woman remained silent for a moment, her eyes fixed on the green jewel. Then, slowly, she lowered her hood, revealing a face Eleanor recognized instantly. It was Amelia Davenport, Lady Lavinia's niece. But her demeanor had undergone a startling transformation. Her once carefree expression was replaced by a steely determination, her eyes filled with a strange intensity. "I'm doing what needs to be done," Amelia said, her voice firm. "Lady Lavinia, she's safe. But she can't leave until I finish what she started." Eleanor's mind raced. Amelia's involvement, the hidden chamber, the cryptic message, it all pointed to something far more complex than a simple kidnapping. "What are you talking about?" she demanded. Amelia gestured towards the sarcophagus. "This," she said, "this is the key. The key to unlocking a power that can change everything." Max, ever the inquisitive one, stepped forward. "What power? And why does it involve kidnapping your aunt?" Amelia sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. "It's a long story," she began, her gaze flickering to the sarcophagus once more. "A story that began generations ago, with a secret my family has guarded for centuries." She explained the tale of a forgotten pharaoh, a woman named Nefertari, who possessed an artifact known as the Eye of Ra, a legendary jewel rumoured to hold immense power. The Davenport family, it turned out, were descendants of Nefertari's protectors entrusted with safeguarding the Eye's secrets. Lady Lavinia, Amelia revealed, had recently uncovered a hidden chamber beneath their ancestral estate. Inside, they found a series of ancient texts detailing the Eye's power and a map leading to its resting place, this very chamber. But the chamber also held a chilling revelation, a prophecy foretelling the return of a dark force that the Eye was meant to keep at bay. Lady Lavinia, fearing the prophecy's truth, had contacted a black market art dealer, Alistair Crowley, hoping to sell the Eye and sever their family's ties to this dangerous legacy. But Amelia, fiercely protective of their heritage, had intervened. She had staged the kidnapping, hidden Lady Lavinia in a safe location, and used the green jewel, a locator device linked to the Eye, to lure them to this chamber. "I know it sounds crazy," Amelia admitted, her voice trembling slightly, "but I believe the prophecy. I believe the darkness is returning, and the Eye is our only defense." Eleanor listened intently, her skepticism slowly giving way to a sense of intrigue. This was far bigger than a simple missing person case. They were entangled in an ancient legacy, a fight against a force they couldn't even comprehend. "And what about Lady Lavinia?" Max asked. "Doesn't she deserve a say in all this?" Amelia nodded solemnly. "Of course. But for now, she's safer out of sight. Once I activate the Eye, I can use its power to confront this darkness. And then, she could be free." A tense silence filled the chamber. Eleanor knew Amelia was determined, perhaps even a little delusional. But the desperation in her eyes, the conviction in her voice, was undeniable.